Hi everyone that's joining us on YouTube. We are painting a very small blue flower today. The size of the flower is a ½ inch, but I've blown it up. And we're painting this not in the style of Georgia O'Keeffe, but in the spirit of Georgia O'Keeffe, which is to paint it so big that we have to look at it. We have to stop and look at a flower. We're doing this on heavy weight watercolor Crescent board. And here we go. This is the flower that I took a picture of. It's, like I said, a ½ inch. I'm going to blow it up. This is a 7.5. No, it's on 8 by 10 inch piece of the watercolored board. So the first step that I did was I put down a piece of water-soluble graphite paper, and I traced my flower, the outline of the flower. I moved over this leaf so that that line wouldn't be right tangent to that stamen. And I didn't really draw in this line right in here, but I want to make sure that that little white part doesn't intersect with the bottom of this. And I drew in this for a negative edge, and I drew around the white, and I put in a couple lines to remind me where those petals are. So that's that drawing there. Then I'm going to do 2 more things to it. I'm going to demonstrate this. I'm going to take Pbo and I'm going to put it on the stamen. So here is the golden rule of Pbo. I was taught by Evelyn to always use my best brushes when I'm using Pbo, but here's the real trick. You have to put it into dilute shampoo and work it through your bristles. And now I'm going to use the Pbo. This stuff is 3 old jars. I just poured them all together. And I'm going to just fill in these stamen very carefully. Just like that. And now I'm going to wash my brush and make sure there's no Pbo left in it. And as soon as it feels smooth, I know it's all out. So that's, woo! I have a flying brush. That's that step. And this is Pbo, drawing gum. And the next thing I want to do is I have this little piece of tape right there where my finger is. It's just cheap masking tape, and I'm going to cut out this shape. Just a little round stem. I have it stuck to mahogany plywood, and then that'll come off, that'll come off, and then I'll just have this little piece here. The reason I'm doing this is I just want to see if this type of paper will work with masking tape, because I use masking tape a lot. So if I were gonna, so I'm just kind of putting this paper through its paces, see if these things work. So I'm gonna put that there, and then I rub it down with my fingernail so the water won't go underneath. And then later we'll see if this works. So those are my 2 things that I needed to do before I got started. Now, the next step is I'm going to paint the background. At least I'm going to get the first coat on that. I'm going to use a 3/4 inch flat brush for this. what I'm gonna do is wet. Whoa, that's got a lot of green in it. Just use that. Well, you can see where I'm wetting, so that's good. I'm wetting all to the way to the edge. Okay, so that's been wet with dirty water. Kind of carefully going around the edges. Now I'm going to use a bunch of green and just kind of paint it in. Let me put this picture of something. Whoa, I don't know what that little thing that fell off is. No, okay, up. There we go. There you can see the picture and the painting. Okay, so I'm going to start with phthalo yellow green. I squished out fresh paint today in all my spots, and so I'm just barely need to touch mine, and I have a ton of paint. And I'm just going to put this bright color where I kind of see the bright colors. A little bit up here. When I ordered from Cheap Joe's last, I ordered Grumbacher phthalo yellow green, but I got 2 tubes. I ordered 4 tubes apparently. I got 2 tubes of phthalo yellow green from Grumbacher and 2 tubes of Blick. And then I looked up the colors and they're exactly the same. And so this is the Blick and it's doing fine. Now I'm going to mix some Antwerp. And what am I going to mix the Antwerp with? I'm going to mix the Antwerp with Bumblebee or Handsy Yellow Medium. This is all Antwerp here. I'm actually going to rinse my brush because I don't want to get a bunch of Antwerp in my squished out, fresh Handsy Yellow Medium. Oh, that's green. Okay, here we go. I'm going to add some of this. I want it to be blurry like the photograph is blurry. That's why the background's all wet. And I think I'm painting a little bit brighter than the photograph, but I did a sample painting that came out so dull that I wanted to try to brighten it up on this painting. So this is bright. Now here's the beauty of the tape. I can just paint right over it on both sides. I need to have both sides of that tape the same color. And I want to make some darker greens and some burnt sienna because I see a little bit of like burnt sienna back in there. So I'm going to rinse my brush out, go into my burnt sienna. I'm just going to put a couple spots of burnt sienna in my background. If I have 2, I have to have 3 spots or more, just a couple. And now I'm going to mix some dark green And the dark green is going to be Antwerp and burnt sienna. There, now I can get some darks in there, and I want them in the corners. Again, this is all wet into wet because I want it to be blurry. The photograph is much darker than my background is right now. I'm tempted to put a couple more darks in next to the petals. But I also can put in a negative edge once this is all dried and the painting's done. I'm just darkening, just slightly darkening up here. My eye is going straight to this little area here, so that needs to be darkened. So I'm mixing up more dark green, which is Antwerp and burnt sienna. And I just want to darken this edge of the painting because I don't want my eye to go out there. The same kind of really the same thing over here. But it's good to start with the bright color. That's fairly random and blurry. Foxy. I don't mind that light spot there. I dried this with the blow dryer, so my background's, now it's not perfectly dry, but it's just ever so slightly damp. And I got fresh water, and I have my pencil brush now. What I'm going to do is just wet the outside of this flower now, just a little bit. All where the blue is. Just being kind of loose here. So I'm going to use a manganese blue mixture. This paint is by Cheap Joe's, and it's his brand. It's American Journey. It's the only paint that you can buy nowadays that has manganese in it. It's the only toxic paint that I ever use. I use stuff I could drink except this one. Because there's just nothing like it that, to me, that has the same color. There we go. You can see everything there. All right, so this is it right here, called Manganese Blue Mixture. It's extremely close to cerulean blue. And in my palette, that little side is Manganese Blue Mixture, and this side is cerulean. And most of the time, I can't even tell the difference. And it's not really the same color as the picture, but I'm painting the feeling of a flower here. I love how the manganese sets into the paper, settles into the paper. It's such an amazing paint. When they quit making it, I was able to get about 5 or 6 tubes. I kept them in my underwear drawer. And then the last tube, I used it all up. But Cheap Joe's still, he has one little source, I guess, because this is the paint that has some in it. It's not pure, but it's got some. Where this kind of hits the white part, I'm just using a lot of water. Being very careful at the edge, because if I go over the green, it makes a line. Yeah, that's not the end of the world. If it looks funny, I'll go back in later and put a little edge there. I'm going to try a little bit of permanent violet bluish into the manganese blue and see what happens if I add just a little bit on the edge here. It certainly gives it a periwinkle color. I like how that looks. I love the granulation. That's what it's called when the pigment settles into the holes, the little indentations of your paper. So I'm just gently putting another layer over that. Smudging this edge where the blue turns into the white. Well, it doesn't really look like the picture, but I kind of like it. The only thing I don't like is that this little blue area goes over the stamen. It needs to go behind them and kind of through them. It's a really common thing, especially if you're painting mountains. Like, you have to purposely make your brain not follow the thing in front. So that's better. I just straightened that out rather than making a little line over the top like it was.
Mary Kay, what color did you put on the edge?
I just dried the blue part with the blow dryer, and I'm going to paint in the negative in this white part of the painting. So I want to mix up a nice light gray, and the gray that I'm going to mix is with this 2 colors that are the blue, manganese blue mixture, and the tiniest bit of that permanent violet bluish, and the tiniest bit of burnt sienna. So I get that beautiful gray there. It's very, very pale. I'm checking how much is in my brush. And now I'm going to paint this little shape here with very pale paint. And then rinse my brush out completely, and I just have water in my brush And now at the top of that, I'm adding water so that it softens. The top softens. And sort of disappears to nothing. So I have that little shape here that hopefully it looks like we're looking over the petals to it. And while I've got this gray, I'm going to paint around the white stamen holders. I don't know what those things are called. I'm painting gray around those little white tubes that hold up the stamen. I know they have a name. Shauna, you're not a biologist, are you?
Not a botanist.
Yeah, I don't know what they are, but that makes them look like little white things. I see some green on this first, in this middle one, so I'm gonna just get the tiniest bit of phthalo yellow green in my brush and paint this one green. This one that goes up there. Oh, that's good. I like that. Hello, green. I guess I need a little bit of green elsewhere too. It's not really anywhere else, but I'm going to add it anyway. Otherwise, it looks kind of funny. That actually does look better. And some of these, like especially up here, it's gray right in there. So I'm going to go positive. So I'm mixing up my positive and my negatives. So this is all negative, but now I'm painting this one right here positive. So it goes gray to green. I'm gonna make it darker right in there. I'm just kind of blurring it all up. So it's not so specific. I'm just adding water, making it a little bit messy. Okay. The step that I'm going to do right now is take up the Pbo, and I'm using this thing here, which is called a pickup. My paper, I blow dried it, so it's really dry. So we'll see how the Pbo works with this paper. I might lift the top of the paper right off. Never quite know what you're going to get the first time you use Pbo on a new paper. No, well, seems like it's okay. Very good. So now that that's up, I'm going to take burnt sienna and I think I'm just going to add a little bit of sepia to it to kind of cheat, to get it nice and dark. And I'm going to very carefully paint with my pencil brush these stamen. And I see some white areas. I need to leave that white. So this is just very careful painting. And this is it's called dry on dry, where the paint's quite not it's kind of like out of the tube. And the paper's dry. So it's very exact painting. I'm just trying to copy the picture fairly exact, leaving little white areas. The top of this center stamen has a little white tip. And like a little white triangle. So I'm trying to leave those shapes. Probably could have gotten away without even using the PBO on this because I'm painting over such pale colors. But I really wanted to see if it would work. That's a little white all at the top of it. It's dark. Carefully painting this, I'm trying to get some burnt sienna spots and some sepia spots on each one of these stamen so that even though they're not boring at all to look at, they have a lot of variety. The next step I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up my petal color again. And I'm going to paint just a couple negative edges on the petals. So there's my manganese blue mixture and the tiniest bit of permanent violet bluish. A lot of water. Touch my paper towel. And now I have to figure out where these negative edges. So right here, this petal, I moved it over. It comes here. So I'm going to paint where this one comes down and hits that one. And then I'll brush out with water this way. So there's just this faint, tiny little faint idea that there's the petal is underneath. I had to darken that because it didn't show up at all. So that petal now looks like it's on top. So here's this one here. So I paint on this side. And then I get my water and I just soften this side so that it goes to nothing. Added a little more paint because I didn't want to just have a line. Does kind of look like a line. And I'm going to do one here. So like this one's coming down and around. So I'm using manganese blue mixture, the tiniest bit of permanent violet bluish in my brush. And I just paint the edge. And then soften the petal that's below the top one. So it looks like that one's on top of this one's on top of that. And then I think I'll do one more over here. So the very last thing I'm going to do is take off this piece of tape and see how this tape works on this paper. And I would say that taping this paper worked pretty well. It didn't rip off the surface of the paper. And of course, now I have this perfectly white stem going up to my flower, so I just need to put a little bit of color on that. And it's actually kind of a dark green. I could have just painted over it, but I just wanted to test that paper with the tape. So might as well leave some highlights, which I really didn't do just now. We have a shadowy side to this painting. Let's make one. Let's make it be on this side. So I'm going to be brave and try to paint some of these veins in. I've made a mixture of very pale manganese blue hue and permanent violet bluish. I got out this rigger brush. Someone in a workshop once gave me this brush. She was from Ukraine. I don't know why she just decided to give it to me, but she did. I'm just going to go for this one right in here. There's one vein. They're like blood vessels. I want this to kind of go away up there. I want it to be so, I think, kind of like they join up here. I'm just going to paint a few of these in. Skinny as I can get them. It's a nice kind of almost like the darkest one is like right here. Starts at this spot right there and goes through here. It's awfully dark. Find a clean spot in my paper towel. Lift that. That's better. I like how the veins kind of start out here, and then when they hit that white, they sort of bend. And then they stop at the disappearing edge. So that part's nice. They sort of radiate out here in the white part and then keep going in the blue. Okay, now I'm finding that if I start on the inside and paint out, I can lift it up as I go. So here's one that starts about in here. I like this rigger brush for this. Never liked a rigger brush as much as I'm liking it today, right now. Because these lines are just going and going and really skinny and soft. So I just need to paint enough of them until I'm like, yep, that flower's got some veins. Oh yeah, it's a camellia.
Yeah,
Beautiful. And you did it from life.
Cool.
sort of, but that's where you run into it, because it's really pretty complicated, you know, and it has all of these striations of whitish pink. You know, it's not like a solid color.
Beautiful, Penny. You made it very purple, going off the side
This was a flower that I took a picture of
from your garden.
outside. It wasn't the one you had.
Right. No, that's so good. I want you to do that.
It reminds me of, I call them princess flowers, you know,
Yeah.
usually go on a bush or whatever. Nice.
Yeah, it was much smaller than those
Mm.
princess
Yeah.
flowers, but it is similar.
I love the detail around the stamen. I love how you made it go off the page. And so then
Mhm.
that focus is in that one spot. And then you have that little outlier guy. He's like an ET up there, but your eye goes up to him, but it's nice.
It's an ET.
Maybe I should make it a little darker, blend it in.
I don't know. I think it looks great the way it is. Don't change it until you think about it.
Here's the photo.
Oh, yeah. Well, the painting is way better than the photo.
Oh, wait
Oh,
a
it's
second.
beautiful. It captures it perfectly. I love your soft background, your negatives, your stamen, your colors, your stem works. Yeah.
Oh, that turned out nice.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
I love the colors blending.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Oh, it's beautiful. It looks like a blue flower just jutting out of your background. The colors are so good.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
Yeah.
Very pretty.
Oh, you did. Oh, it's beautiful. Your colors are gorgeous. I love your soft background.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you did the wild iris.
Pretty.
That's so good. You got your the veins slash colors. Oh, just really nice.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
The
like
veins
the background.
really-
It looks, I mean, I know exactly what it is.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Oh,
Oh,
beautiful.
That's very nice.
Oh,
Oh, pretty.
Yeah.
Very nice. I love the white part.
So I haven't done veins and I haven't done the pistils. That's what's in the middle.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Pistils with the
Thank
stain.
you for coming up with that term for us. Well, the blues are beautiful.
Mhm.
So, and I also want to do negative painting for some of the leaves in the back and the stem.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on YouTube. It was very fun to see everyone's little flowers all blown up in the spirit of Georgia O'Keeffe.